anybody trying to be a victim. Like, what's this girl, Meghan Markle? Seemed like a nice lady, just complaining. I was like, didn't she hit the light skin lottery and still going on complaining? Acting all dumb like she don't know nothing. Going on Oprah, I didn't know. I had no idea how racist they were. It's the royal family. You didn't Google these motherfuckers? Biggest addiction in America is attention. We are addicted to attention. Easiest way to get attention is to be a victim. Racist is so racist. Some of the she went through was not racism. It was just some in-law shit. Cause she's complaining. I'm like, what the fuck is she talking about? Oprah, they're so racist. They wanted to know how brown the baby's gonna be. I'm like, that's not racist. Cause even black people wanna know. What the fuck is she talking about? She didn't know. It's the royal family. They're the original racists. Posting up pathetic pictures. This is me eating sushi. Like me. This is me 25 years ago when I was hot. Like me. Oh, it's fucking sad. What the fuck is she talking about? I didn't know. That's like marrying into the Budweiser family and going, they drink a lot.
The lights dropped, the crowd hummed, and Chris Rock walked on stage like a man with zero patience for polite detours. He opened fast, named Meghan Markle, and framed the moment as a snapshot of an age addicted to attention. The claim was blunt. If applause is the prize, declaring a wound becomes the strategy. People laughed because it felt less like a jab and more like a mirror. Rock did not deliver a thesis, he delivered recognition. In seconds, the room shifted from sympathy to scrutiny, and the temperature rose. His first point cut cleaner than headlines. Not every awkward encounter is a coordinated plot. Sometimes in-law drama is just in-law drama. He joked that clumsy questions exist in families across cultures, and while they can sting, they are not always the sweeping statements people insist they are online. The room knew that relative, the one who phrases curiosity like a challenge. Rock was not dismissing feelings, he was challenging amplification, and the crowd recognized itself inside the joke. That recognition is why the laugh arrived fast and then lingered in silence afterward. Then he aimed at the fairy tale's favorite twist, surprise. Rock mocked the idea that someone could date a prince, orbit a palace, read the coverage, and still claim shock at the rulebook. He compared it to a professional athlete insisting they had never heard of the league. The analogy worked because it treated viewers like grown-ups. You research life-altering choices, you ask questions, you read history. He turned naivety into a punchline and calculation into the subtext, which made the fairy tale look more like a strategy than an accident. That was the spark. The wildfire came next. Clips erupted across feeds within hours. Editors chopped the set into 8-second jolts designed for loops. TikTok stitched eye rolls onto punchlines. X stacked captions like verdicts. YouTube built chapters with emphatic thumbnails. The internet did not merely enjoy the jokes, it multiplied them. Suddenly, every meme template had a new face to paste in, and Meghan became shorthand for curated vulnerability. Late night shows felt the rhythm and jumped in. Monologues repeated familiar beats. Privacy as performance, confession as business, contradictions you cannot unsee once someone points. Repetition did the heavy lifting. When enough voices tell the same story, opinion starts to feel like weather. You do not debate weather, you plan around it. Sketch comedy exaggerated the couple's image. Quiet life one moment, brand rollout the next, and even the caricatures did not seem far from how many viewers already saw things. Club comics added a different temperature. Without network polish, they aimed at the orchestral strings behind ordinary moments, the solemn narration of everyday hassles, the memoir lines that felt like overshare. Rooms from London to Los Angeles riffed on curated authenticity and found big laughs in small contradictions. Phones lifted, clips uploaded, loops tightened. It was not one knockout, it was 1,000 jabs merging into a bruise. Momentum became message, and the message stuck. Animation sealed the caricature in memory. Once a cartoon compresses contradictions into a single frame, that frame can eclipse reality. A gag about demanding privacy while shouting through a bullhorn on a private jet turned into a universal shorthand. No explanation necessary. Other animated shows tossed quick lines about big checks and fuzzy deliverables. Fair or not, the jokes hardened into assumptions. Cartoons are cheat codes for memory, and memory loves shortcuts when they confirm a feeling. Commentators who rarely swing hard tried straight talk. They contrasted the old guard silence with the modern brand's tell-all posture. They argued that dignity does not need narration. realization that the world is not required to clap for a carefully lit monologue about discomfort. Supporters countered that speaking up can be necessary when institutions move slowly. Both points carry weight, but cadence crushes nuance. Rock brought timing, rhythm, and the sense that the obvious had finally been said, and timing changes everything. A deeper platform truth powered the fallout. The algorithm rewards the loop, not the lesson. A raised eyebrow or awkward pause outruns a thoughtful paragraph every day of the week. That is not a moral failure. It is a design choice. Rock delivered lines built to travel fast. They collected edits, captions, and reaction faces, then came back around as consensus. By the time careful explainers arrived, the room had already laughed, and laughter sets the tone. Prince Harry hovered as an echo, never the center, but always nearby. Jokes about oversharing and career pivots sketched him as a decent man who traded protocol for production schedules. Some comics suggested he believed he was redesigning the role and stumbled into marketing. Others cast him as a passenger beside a stronger driver. Either way, his presence amplified the glare already aimed at Meghan, and reactions to her bounced back onto him, welding two stories tighter than any press strategy. British comics did what only locals can do: drain the romance from royalty. They teased curtsy panic like it was the same hassle as removing shoes at airport security. They shrugged at etiquette because for them it is background noise, not catastrophe. When those jokes landed, they did not feel cruel so much as inevitable, like a long sigh from a country used to crowns and tabloids. That tone gave audiences elsewhere permission to roll their eyes, and once enough eyes roll, the angle of the story tilts. It would be easy to pretend one special ended an era. Culture does not pivot that cleanly. What Rock actually did was compress months of skepticism into one rhythm people could not ignore. He did not expose new facts. He rearranged familiar ones until they sounded new. That is stand-up at its sharpest. It rewires the story without rewriting the record. After that, every public move had to swim upstream against a current powered by laughs, not footnotes. The most brutal magic of humor is stickiness. You can cross-examine a serious claim. A joke that rings true becomes a reference forever. After the special, even solid projects carried a ghost caption. Viewers listened for sincerity but expected spin, which means sincerity started behind. Once you become shorthand for contradiction, explanations stop working. The only path is to outlast the bit with quiet, consistent work and fewer dramatic reveals. Speculation thrives in that climate. Commentators floated theories about ambition and calculation, and some insisted the romance had always been a strategy. To be clear, those are opinions, not confirmed facts. But opinions wrapped in punchlines outrun sober rebuttals. Rock did not endorse every rumor. He fueled a broader skepticism in which rumors multiply. That difference matters even if timelines forget. When sarcasm saturates the air, almost any story can be steered into a convenient arc. So where does that leave the narrative now? In a chapter where Meghan's appearances compete with the echo of that night. She can deliver substance for years, and still the first frame many viewers see is the caricature cemented by repetition. The only antidote is patience, and a catalog of work that refuses to play to the confession economy. Even then, the bit never disappears. It only gets crowded by newer headlines. Visibility buys reach. Reach invites critique, and critique never clocks out. The lesson travels beyond royalty. If your public identity relies on polished confession, audiences start grading the lighting instead of the truth. If your strategy demands constant narration, people eventually crave quiet. And if your brand rests on being misunderstood, beware the comedian who makes the misunderstanding look voluntary. Rock's strength was clarity at speed. He let exhausted viewers admit their fatigue without shame, and once fatigue becomes laughter, it hardens into belief. By the end of the special, the room carried an odd blend of relief and discomfort. People wanted a release valve, and he offered one. He tapped the exhaustion that grows when every inconvenience becomes a saga. He did not cancel anyone. He popped a balloon. The sound that followed across stages and living rooms was the exhale turning into applause. It lasted longer than the news cycle because it felt earned. Audiences believed they had spotted the seam and started looking for more. That persistence explains the echo. Not because one set erased a life, but because a tight set reordered how future stories would be heard. After that night, every glossy interview seemed to answer a punchline. Every pivot looked like strategy. Maybe that is not fair, maybe it is the price of the stage. The laugh changed the room. When the room changes, the show never plays the same way again. The line between vulnerability and marketing thinned, and the crowd learned to test it with a smirk. Here is the quiet coda. The same attention economy that lifts people up always searches for seams. Rock tugged the thread on live television, and the knit unraveled on the timeline. The crowd went wild because they recognized the pattern. They were not celebrating a downfall, they were celebrating a reveal. Humor can be cruel, and it can be corrective. In this case, it was both, and the echo still hovers, daring the next chapter to speak plainly and prove it can hold.